Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. This is Caitlin Saposi-Belknap, National Director of Move to Amend, and I'm going to be speaking with you this evening on an introduction to Move to Amend. If you have questions, you can chat them in the chat bar at the bottom left of your screen, and you should be hearing audio now. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll pause, and then we'll also have time for questions at the end. And if you're asking something that is going to be covered anyway, then I'll go ahead and wait until the end. So thanks, everyone, for being here, and let's get started. So Move to Amend is a coalition, and there are hundreds of thousands of individuals involved and thousands of organizations that are part of Move to Amend. And our mission is for social and economic justice, particularly ending corporate rule and building a vibrant democracy that's genuinely accountable to the people, not corporate interests. And our primary goal at the moment is to pass the We the People Amendment, and that will make clear that artificial entities like corporations or nonprofit corporations or unions or anything created by government does not have constitutional rights, and that money is not speech. And we want to use this campaign of passing the We the People Amendment to also provoke discussion and organizing around a movement to make real the promise of American democracy. And so there may be other constitutional reforms that we also need to make democracy function in this country, but we feel like the We the People Amendment is a very important first step, and that's the campaign that we're focused on right now. So, as I mentioned, the method that we think that this needs to take to get done is to build a grassroots democracy movement. This reform is, very fundamental and critical, and it's not going to come from Washington, D.C. It's not going to come from the people who are in Congress. It's certainly not going to come from corporate America. This needs to come from the people, and the people need to be organized and disciplined and effective. And so it's not going to just be through, clicking petitions or social media. We actually have to have relationships with each other, and we need to be building power. So that's why we also employ the coalition building strategy. Move to Amend itself is a coalition, as I mentioned, and we also build local coalitions in our work. The movement needs to be broad and diverse. Explicitly, it needs to be multiracial, and we could also add intergenerational to that, and we kind of pull those pieces out. It needs to be diverse in a number of different ways, but particularly race and also age and generational divides keep us apart. In our read of history and successful movements that have had to take on something as significant as what we're doing, they have had to transcend those barriers and not just say it, but actually find ways to work across those differences and put intentional effort into that in order to be effective and not to be divided against each other. Our focus is on community organizing, not just activism, and by that kind of gets to the piece about building power and relationships. So the way that we define the difference is that organizing is about relationship power building, it's lasting, and activism is not necessarily so. You could define it a different way, but for the purposes of this point, we're defining activism as, maybe everybody turns out to a rally, or we get, 10,000 names on a petition to hand to an elected official, but do we actually have power behind that? And that's the measure that we look for. We primarily focus on local organizing because that's where we are. We're in our communities. That's where we're best able to build the kind of relationships that are needed to organize across difference, whether we're talking about race or age or ideology. And that's effectively done, when we're on the ground talking with other people and working with other people. And so all of us who work on the national team of Move to Amend, our history and our background and our roots are in local organizing, and we still believe that's really important even as we're running this national campaign. And our primary target is the American people, and as opposed to Washington, D.C. or sitting Congress people, this goes back to needing to build a movement. And so, while our amendment has been introduced in Congress, and we do work to help educate people who are in office and politicians, we really focus most of our energy and our organizing time and strategy on how to bring in more of the public and help the public understand this issue. So we're structured around this with kind of 4 different categories. We have local affiliates, and those are our local groups, and that's really where the rubber meets the road. And those are all volunteers, and they come together generally with, starting off with like a small group of people, maybe 6 to 20 folks who decide that they want to start a Move to Amend group in their community, and these are the folks who are really the ambassadors of Move to Amend out to the public, and I'll talk about some of the things that our affiliates do. We also have a national team to coordinate all of this, and our national team is very intentionally very diverse. It really is made up it represents the makeup of, what you think of when you think of America and all of what that entails. People who live in all parts of the country, the South, the West, the Midwest, the Southwest. And as we build that group, we are very intentional about making sure that it is, it's not just from one sector of folks. And like I said, our background, those of us on the national team, is as community organizers, and then we support folks who are doing that work, and then we have a small crew of staff as well who support that too through the work that we do every day. And then we have national committees that are made up of both staff and folks from the national team who are volunteers, and then our local volunteers, and then we have endorsing and partner organizations. And so those are not live links on your screen right now, but if everybody will get the recording and the slides, I should have mentioned that at the beginning, and so you can go back and look at those links on our website and see more about who these folks are in these different categories. So some of the work that we've been doing in 2014 and that will continue on as we are coming up on the end of the year and into next year is our resolutions work, and this is a tactic that we have been using from the beginning of when we launched Move to Amend. It actually goes back to before Move to Amend existed, and the goal is to get local and local municipal, so maybe county or city, sometimes colleges, and then also states, to pass resolutions calling on Congress to amend the Constitution. So we're actually over 500, we're almost at 600 local resolutions have been passed since Move to Amend launched. And this is an opportunity to really engage a community in this question of, should we take a stand against Citizens United and corporate constitutional rights and call for a change to the Constitution? So ideally, these campaigns are done not just by going to your city council and talking to them and then having it pass at a meeting where there are not very many people present, but this is an opportunity to really use this tactic as a platform to drive this issue into the discussion in your community. So the really successful resolution campaigns not just involve a city council, but they're engaging with the media, they're doing petitioning and knocking on doors or phone banking or out on the corner in front of the library, passing out literature, trying to get people to support the resolution campaign and then to get involved with Move to Amend. And then in states that allow the citizens initiative process, that's the ideal way for these resolutions to be passed. And so then it's a direct vote of the people. And we've had over 200 instances where citizens have got measures on the ballot and then have been voted on by voters. And they've passed every single time. in conservative communities and liberal communities and moderate communities, in rural places, in urban places. It doesn't matter. Every time that the question has been put before voters, they have said that they would like to see this Constitution happen. So you can learn more about the resolution campaigns in our toolkit online, and the link is there. We are currently in the midst of our Pledge to Amend campaign, and this is a campaign to focus on candidates for local, state, and federal office this year, and to find out what their position is on amending the Constitution to abolish corporate personhood. And so we have a pledge that we're asking folks to sign, and we sent a letter inviting folks to fill out a questionnaire to everybody running for federal office, and then a number of our affiliates. There are about, I think, 45 different campaigns or so around the country, also focusing on state and municipal elections as well. And then in addition to the pledge, there are also folks who are doing what's called bird dogging, where you go to where candidates are, whether it's candidate forums or candidate events, and you try and get a question in front of the candidates about their position, or you try to get them on record. Kind of the most famous recent example that comes to mind is when Mitt Romney said, "Corporations are people, my friend," and that was an example of a bird dogging effort. A group went to the Iowa State Fair and got him to come out with what his position was and got it on tape. So those folks who are working on trying to get similar on the record statements this year, and then also to really put it in front of local candidate debates and things like that, and to make the media more aware that this is an issue that matters to voters. So we're working on that, and you can see all the details on our website at pledge-amend, and you can also see the results of the candidate surveys that we've had so far. We also have kind of an ongoing effort, and this is a good way to get involved if maybe there isn't a group around you yet and you're just kind of getting started, is to host a house party for democracy, or a house party for Move to Amend. And we have a whole house party kit that you can order and resources to help you, and you just invite your friends. You can also invite other Move to Amend supporters in your area, and if you want to do it that way, we can help you with that. And that house party can be a fundraiser for Move to Amend. It can be an opportunity to show a video that we have and educate your friends and family and coworkers about Move to Amend. And it also could be a launching point for starting a Move to Amend group, or any combination of those things. So you can find resources on the site there about doing a house party. Oops, I just mentioned these things, and but I didn't say we also could do a Skype conversation with one of our national team members to help you and answer questions if you want. So those are all the things that you can do with a house party, and you can find the resources on our site as well. This is also another action that you can kind of do all on your own, but you could also make it stronger with a group, Stampede to Amend. So this campaign was initially started with Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. He approached us and asked if we wanted to partner with him to create these stamps that you'd use to stamp your money or envelopes. We stamp all of our outgoing mail, for example, at the office, with a message that says a corporation is not a person and money is not speech, and then Move to Amend's website. So this is a way to get the message out, and it's kind of like, throwing seeds into the wind. We don't know where they'll end up, but a story that I like to tell is one of our current interns in our cohort applied, and in the question where we asked, how did you find out about Move to Amend, her answer was, well, my husband brought home a $20 bill and it said Move to Amend on it, so I looked it up and applied to be an intern. And so this is a way to really amplify the message and get it out there. And you can just stamp your own bills, but you also could hold a stamp in or table and an event, and others have done that as well. So you can kind of do it solo or as a group thing in conjunction with a house party, for example. Move to Amend tours the country pretty much nonstop. Right now we have 2 different tours going, one in California and another one that's just getting started in North Carolina next week. And we have already visited almost all the states. Actually, I need to update this slide because we haven't been to Alaska and maybe a few of the plain states, but other than that, we've pretty much been everywhere, and then we come back again. So this is an opportunity to really dig in. The barnstorming stops are a great way to launch an affiliate group, and most of our local affiliates actually have come out of being a stop and then people saying, hey, I want to keep this going. And, there's nothing like being able to bring people together in person. It's inspiring and energizing. So you can see the talks online as well, but if you're interested in bringing a Move to Amend speaker to your community, we're pretty much scheduled through the end of the year. So there's some stops in California, like I said. Then next month we'll be doing a tour in Arizona and in Massachusetts. And then at the end of the year, Florida. And but then we'll be looking at what to put together for the schedule for 2015. So now would be a good time to put in a request if you're interested. And if you live in any of the states that I mentioned, definitely check out the front page of our site for where we'll be, and then let friends of yours know if anyone lives in other spots in California or Arizona or Massachusetts or Florida or North Carolina. Citizen Coke is a partnership that we have with the Citizen Coke film, and they approached us and asked if we wanted to partner up. So at this point, you can bring a screening to your town, and if you go to the site listed on your screen, the page listed on your screen, you can learn about how to get involved in what's called a TUG campaign. So working with theaters across the country, you can sign up and then encourage people to commit to come, and then if you get a critical mass, then they'll come and bring the movie, and then you can show it and have a discussion if you want, or just as an opportunity to kind of do some education about the takeover of our elections since Citizens United, and then other folks have used that to launch a new group or to build their current group. So that's another thing to consider. And then this is, again, this is kind of an ongoing effort. We'll keep going, and once we get to 500,000 signatures, then we'll keep moving. Move to Amend was launched with a petition. Initially, that was actually our campaign, and very, very quickly we started having tens of thousands of people respond, and now we're just around 370-something thousand people. And this is, without any really corporate media attention. This is, independent media and or word of mouth and organizing to get all these names. And these are the people who are involved with Move to Amend. So this is critical. So we keep growing. Obviously, 500,000. We need double, triple, quadruple that to amend the Constitution. And so we need everybody bringing your friends and contacts into the campaign, and you can download the petition and print it off and take it to work with you. Many of our groups have ongoing tabling that they do. We're headed into the winter time, so it's not necessarily as great to do this as it is in the summertime, but depending on where you live, there are a lot of people out and about for the holidays, and so setting up and just with a clipboard or maybe with a table and just getting people involved. And we have a lot of materials that you can use in addition to the petition, brochures and things like that you can print off or order from us, and that can help you educate people and bring them to the campaign. So I see that there have been some questions, but it seems like not too many. So I'll go back and do all of that at the end, and then if there are others that have questions, feel free to put them down as you think of them, and then I'll do those questions at the end, because I'm almost done here with the presentation. So really, if you're looking to get involved with Move to Amend, as I've said, there are a few things that you could start to do right away to help spread the word. But the real focus of our campaign is around organizing and movement building. And so the only way to do that is to work with other people. And so that's why Move to Amend is really entirely focused around our local groups. And so if you are not part of a local group yet, or if there isn't a local group near you, I would ask you to think about whether you would like to help start one in your area. And you don't need to have done this before, and you also don't even need to necessarily imagine that you would be the leader of the group. You might just help convene it, and if you don't want to be one of the lead folks, then that might be something that you can say, early on, and others can help step forward. But no matter where you live, there are at least a few other Move to Amend people near you who could potentially come together and at least have a conversation about whether you should have a Move to Amend group in your community. So the best way to get started is to hold an introductory meeting, and we can help you promote it to Move to Amend supporters that already live near you, that we have in our database. But also, you would want to invite your friends and anyone you know that you think might be interested in coming. And then we would help you put it up on our website, and there's a lot of information on starting affiliates that's in our toolkit, but the best place to go to get started is the link at the bottom there, movetoamend.org/start-group. And then from there, we work with you to, get people to the meeting and figure out where to go from there. And then ultimately the process is that you apply to be an affiliate, and we have an orientation conference call, and then affiliates are part of the campaign. And we offer affiliates organizing advice, support, and mentorship. We have monthly conference calls with all of our affiliates from around the country. There are tons of resources that we've developed, and we continue to prioritize what our affiliates need in order to do their work. And we give affiliates access to our database and a page on our website, and there's a bunch of other kind of tangible resources along the way as well. So you wouldn't be going it on your own at all. And so that's the number one ask that I have for you. Something brought you to this presentation tonight. Maybe you've been thinking about getting involved in Move to Amend for a long time. Maybe you just got the email and thought, yeah, sure, and you just recently signed up. But we have over 100 groups around the country, and we've had affiliates from day one. And most of the work that Move to Amend has done that has put us on the map and gotten the attention from folks in D.C. and the media that we have gotten has been the work of our affiliates. And so they're just the backbone of this campaign. And if folks want to get involved with Move to Amend, that's really the best way to do it. So does anyone have any questions? And this can be about the nuts and bolts of getting involved or just Move to Amend in general. So let's see what we've got here. Vicki asks, is the path for amendment through a constitutional convention? Great question, Vicki. Move to Amend's position is that we may very well need to do a constitutional convention, but the way you move people into trying something that's not been done before is you make clear that you've tried everything that is available to you and it's not working and you need to escalate. And so what we have said is that we think that it's that we definitely cannot assume that Congress is going to move this amendment forward, and we need to have a plan B. But at the same time, most Americans who remember any thing about amending the Constitution, think of amendments as passing through Congress and then being sent to the states for ratification. And so that is the initial path that we're on. And at some point, we may decide that we need to give up on that and look to the convention, which is the mechanism to basically go around Congress and have the states propose constitutional amendments, and then they still have to be ratified by the states as well. And so if that needs to happen, then Move to Amend is absolutely prepared to do that, and there's certainly things about that that are potentially exciting. And there are also things about that that potentially might be kind of risky and unknown. But the bottom line is that the only way to successfully amend the Constitution, either through Congress passing it and sending it to the states to ratify, or through the states holding a convention and sending it to the states to ratify, it's going to take a movement. And so our work needs to be to build that strong, powerful, deep, wide movement. And in many ways, that it's the same movement. And so our work right now is that. And this fork in the road about Congress or convention is something that's a bit down the road. And we're prepared and willing to go with either option. But right now, we need to build a powerful movement so that either one of those things ends in success. See what else we've got here. Let's see. Jeff has a few things. Jeff asks, shouldn't the target be Republicans because it is their representatives who need to be, quote, spanked to support a 28th Amendment? Why not consolidate support behind the more popular and more broadly supported amendment, i.e. the Democracy for All Amendment, SJR 19? Well, let's take the second part of that head on. So Move to Amend does not support the Democracy for All Amendment, and the simple reason is because it doesn't overturn corporate constitutional rights. It only addresses Citizens United, which is only the most recent, well, it's not even now the most recent, but it's the most current era of expanding corporate constitutional rights as it relates to elections. But the doctrine of corporate personhood goes back well before Citizens United and McCutcheon, and includes much more than just corporations exercising First Amendment rights, so-called rights, to spend money in elections. And so Move to Amend has always been very clear that you can count on us to only support measures that will do the job wholly and fully, and that is to overturn all corporate constitutional rights. And in fact, since there are multiple proposals out there, we take very seriously the role that we've committed to, which is that folks can look to us for clarity about whether an amendment really is going to end corporate constitutional rights, or whether it just sort of butts up against it or implies that. And so our opinion of SJR 19 was that it fell very short and didn't warrant our stamp of approval. So we didn't support it. And in terms of Republicans, I think that there certainly is work that needs to be done, and Republicans really need to hold their party accountable. Most rank-and-file Republicans believe that there's too much money in politics, believe that corporations should not have the same rights as people, and just like most Democrats do, and really both parties have some work to do to hold their leadership accountable to represent the positions of rank-and-file folks. And so, again, that's one of the reasons why we focus on local organizing, because organizing folks who come from different perspectives on maybe other issues is easier to do in person when you're talking about, your neighbors or your fellow community members, and that's where we've had the most success doing that. And like I've mentioned, our ballot initiatives that have been run in some, majority Republican communities have had just as much success as the ones that have been run in more liberal or progressive communities. And so there certainly is ample opportunity there. see. Richard asks, what senators and Congress representatives are on board? And I would encourage you to check out the Pledge to Amend page. Not everyone there is an incumbent, but you can see, for example, in Florida, you can look and you know who your representatives are in the state, and you can see if any of them have signed the pledge. And after this campaign season is over, then we'll go back to turning Pledge to Amend into a lobbying effort for sitting politicians, both at the state and federal level. And so the co-sponsors of our amendment in Congress, it's in the House, and our We the People amendment is HJR 29, and the lead sponsors are Rick Nolan and Mark Pocan from Minnesota and Wisconsin, respectively, and then Matt Cartwright from Pennsylvania and Jared Huffman from California. And those are the co-sponsors. And then we actually have about 15 meetings in D.C. this week, because all of the amendments that have been proposed in the current Congress will expire at the end of this year and need to be either reintroduced or new ones brought forward. And so we're working to expand those and see if we can find sponsors in the Senate. Although we really do not put a lot of emphasis on growing those numbers right now, because we're concerned that if too much energy is put on TUC, there's two things. One, that really invites Congress members to kind of feel as though it's their job to take the reins and steer this thing. And what we will very likely end up with then is something like only the Democracy for All amendment or even less, because it's kind of the easiest thing to get passed. And we need to use this opportunity when the American public is absolutely outraged about not just Citizens United, but corporate rule in general, and not just Citizens United, but so many of the other cases, the implications of the other cases that have built this idea that corporations have the same rights as people. This is an opportunity to move forward an amendment that would really solve that problem if we build the movement that will demand that. And so that's where Move to Amend focuses. And then the other piece is that it is not a particularly empowering body of work to lobby Congress as it is right now. And we don't really feel like that's the most effective way to bring people in, and again, to really build a movement. And people need to have experiences that make them feel powerful in a situation like we're in now, where we have so little agency, really, if you look at it. And so that's what we're trying to create. And lobbying your senator just doesn't do it for most folks, and sending an email to them doesn't do it to them. So they're not going to be very responsive to that. So we really need to do organizing and build power and capacity, and that's what we're excited to do, and that's what we're finding is most successful. Let's see. I'm not seeing. Well, Richard asks if we've tried to get on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and the answer is yes, absolutely, repeatedly. And one of the things, if folks are viewers of the Daily Show, that you might consider is you can go to their website and make a comment or contact them, and making sure that they hear from their viewers and supporters that they should interview Move to Amend. We would love to talk with Jon Stewart, and we'll continue to work on that too. So, are there any other questions? I do want to just put out there, I'm not sure what all of your relationships are with where you live, but we do have an affiliate, for example, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm just going through where you all have said that you are. So there is a local group in Milwaukee. There's a local group in Sonoma County and Marin County as well, and they work together. There is a local group in Boise, Idaho, There is a local group in New York City. And there also is potentially a group forming in New Hampshire, and I'm not sure where in New Hampshire they'll be based. So there is a survey at the end of this webinar, and I'd love to get your feedback. But also one of the questions asks if you'd like a follow-up call from us. And so if you are any of the places that I mentioned that have local groups and you're not connected with them, let us know and we'd be happy to help make that connection and introduce you to the group, because you don't even need to start a group. You can just plug in with the work that they're doing. And then if you are somewhere where we don't have a group, we'd love to help you get one started. So any other questions or comments? I'll give a minute. Looks like not. So alrighty then. Well, thank you all very much for being here this evening and taking the time. And do let us know if there's anything else that you need from us to get involved. When this webinar ends, it'll take you to the survey screen, and if you could just fill it out real quick and give us your feedback, and then also let us know if you'd like follow-up. And then once you submit that, then you'll also be taken to the volunteer page, and if you want to indicate some of the things that you like to do or would be interested in learning to do, you can do that, and then we'll follow up with you that way as well, too. So thanks again, and have a wonderful evening, everyone. And don't hesitate to be in touch if there's anything that we can do to help you get involved and move to amend. Good night.